Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you, aka VHS82 apostrophe, with episode 5 of the X-Files. As we move from disc 1 to disc 2, that always feels like a minor accomplishment. Episode 5, The Jersey Devil, directed by one Joe Napolitano. This dropped October 8th, 93. And Napolitano is notable for being, I want to say, I'm pretty sure it was first assistant for none other than Brian De Palma on a few of his more notable films. Untouchables, Body Double, Scarface, Blowout, Jason, our Tuesday reviewer. You'll like that. This guy, that's going to hit home with you, man. Chris Carter back writing, and let's see, our guy Wayne Tippit, who plays, I'm just going to call him the antagonist, man, because he really is the thorn. Doesn't Mulder always have a thorn in the flesh? And this guy is it for this episode. Look at him as your mayor of Amity that is just looking out for the financial interests of the tourist sector. Could care less about anything else. And he's very, very protective of his little sanctum, call it. So he really is Mulder's thorn in the flesh in this episode, more than the Monster of the Week episode, which deals with the mythology of the New Jersey version of Bigfoot, which is, they call it the Jersey Devil, which is interesting, the story as it will go. But Tippit, Wayne Tippit, will, I remember him from, I remember the film. I don't necessarily remember him in the film. It's 77. I was like 7 years old. But you remember, for those of you old enough who remember the Monday night at the movies, Sunday night at the movies, there was a film from back in the day called Roller Coaster. The guy that was going around blowing up roller coasters. He's in that. And also played in Taps as Master Sergeant Moreland. That might ring a bell with some of you guys. Claire Stansfield, who plays the Jersey Devil. She'll be in a film a couple years from this point, in 95, a Wes Craven Presents Mind Ripper. Some of you may remember that. I'm just looking at my notes real quick. I think that's about it for that. This episode, man, I had a car appointment this morning and wasting a few minutes just reading a few. I don't usually read. I read the critic reviews, generally speaking, but with X-File episodes, it's a little hard to get nitty-gritty with critic reviews. It's not like movies on IMDb. But anyways, I was reading a couple, and man, a lot of the reviews that people just throw up aren't good of this episode. I actually enjoyed this episode. I really liked it. What is this, the second Monster of the Week episode? I just, it had a weird vibe in the beginning. It begins with a sort of prologue or preface, however you want to talk it. 1947, if I remember right. Family is, of course, this is New Jersey, right? They're out there on their way somewhere, driving on a kind of desolated road along the wilderness line, and tire blows, and Dad's fixing the tire, drops the flashlight, rolls down the hill. Of course, nothing good can come from this. He goes down the hill to get the flashlight, comes back up, and something from the point of view of the thing you assume it's the Jersey Devil, right? Lays eyes on him and follows him up to the car, and in front of the kids and the wife, drags him off to the woods. Hence the search party the next morning. They corner the thing in a cave and ultimately shoot it. The whole sequence actually was done really well. It's up to this point, I think it's the best opening of any X-Files. I love the vibe. It actually had a Friday the 13th-esque vibe, only in that the family's singing in the car. It kind of reminds you of the beginning opening moments of Friday the 13th, where the kids are singing, who is it? Kumbaya, my lord, whatever that song is. It just has that ambiance, really sort of weird. And of course, the Jaws connection. This has a real serious nod to Jaws in the sense of, it harkens back to the mayor being very protective of the financial interests of the town in light of the shark, right? But now you have this Jersey Devil here. And it's funny because I'm going to be reviewing for Body Bags, Dark Ride, part of the eight Films to Die For series, and both take place in New Jersey. So isn't that sort of interesting? Anyways, so I love the opening. And so now, skip back to modern day. It's 93, right? There's been a murder or two or something. And Mulder, no, Scully, she comes in just joking about it. Well, not joking, but you know what I mean. She comes in, she's like, "You're not gonna believe this. This is this really belongs on a tabloid." And so when she does it, boom, he thinks of an X-file, lunges for the cabinet, opens it up, finds the folder, and the two whisk off to New Jersey when, of course, the first time Mulder bangs heads with Detective Thompson, that is Wayne Tippit's character, he becomes very protective of his ground and basically tells him take a hike. Ultimately, in the end, Scully has to get back for her godson's. It's either I think he's just it might be his birthday party. I think it's his birthday party, and so she needs to get back for that. She's kind of got, she just needs to be there. Mulder decides to stick it out for the weekend and continue butting heads with, of course, the detective, but he tries to do as much as he can to dig up as much as he can because, it's a mystery and he needs to lay eyes on the mystery. This is Mulder, of course. And this episode is really interesting, too, because, we'll watch Scully head out back home to the party thing, do her thing there. She'll meet a guy there, Rob, and they'll end up on a date. And so you kind of see the dynamics of an interesting piece of Scully in terms of the things that she could have and the decisions that she's going to have to make in this episode. It's actually kind of interesting. Mulder, of course, he will befriend the park ranger, who will fill him in a little bit, but of course he's protective of his pension, so he doesn't want to sound like a nut job, and he's careful what he says. There apparently is a body found, and it's believed to be the male, a male person of type. And Mulder begins to suspect that there may be a clan of these things or a family of these things. And you go from possibly prehistoric, evolved type things to maybe something else. And we will see what that something else perhaps is. And so Mulder will get a neat idea. He will decide to, as he stays out there for the weekend, he gets a tip from the park ranger, or at least a notion that perhaps, being that the outline of the wilderness line, there's a bunch of homeless people, and one of the homeless people is attacked. And so he decides to ask some questions of some of the homeless people there. One will talk to him in exchange from some information, a picture actually. Mulder will give him the key to his motel room and just give him a nice night out. Let him go, watch HBO, enjoy the evening, and he'll live at his place for the night, hoping to lay eyes on this thing, and he will lay eyes on this thing. But the cost in the morning is a run-in with our good old Detective Thompson again, who will throw him in the drunk cell, and Scully will have to come and bail him out. And so things begin to escalate. He'll eventually he'll seek the help of a professor of anthropology in Maryland University, bring him in, and things kind of pick up speed. It's the pacing is so awesome. And, before you really know, it's one of the shorter condensed episodes where you kind of feel like, wow, we're already heading into the third final act stretch. And before you know it, you're heading into this sort of finality, conclusion of this episode. And between Mulder and the professor, the park ranger, and the forces of the SWAT team that are under the Detective Thompson's hand, they will all converge on this desolated, empty building where they think this thing is hiding out. Of course, looking for food to take back. Mulder suspects it has perhaps children, and you'll have this huge thing unfold there, which Mulder will get a very close eye-to-eye view of this thing. she basically pins him down, and she literally could kill him, but ultimately, and there's this moment, eye-to-eye contact, which is one of there are a lot of neat moments like that in the X-Files, and this is one of them. And well, she ends up fleeing off to the wilderness, gets out of there, but they hunt her down, chase her down, and Mulder does everything he can to try to spare her life, but Detective Thompson's not going to have none of it, and she ultimately is shot down. I'll just say it in cold blood, man. She's just living in the wilderness, surviving. We never really get a clear understanding of what she is exactly. Like, is she, could she have just been a homeless person, have homeless? You remember The Descent, right? Those who have been in the cave systems forever, they slowly evolve in the way they do. It's kind of like that in a weird way. Or not, maybe not so weird way. They're not really cannibals for cannibal's sake. It's just about scrounging for food, looking for food. Most of the time, they're going into the dumpsters and stuff right near the edge line, right, of where people live. And it's a fascinating, it's an interesting episode. And by the end of the episode, Scully has an opportunity to go on a date with Rob. Mulder has an opportunity to meet up with somebody from the Smithsonian Institute, and Scully has a real decision to make. And as she's on the phone, we're with Mulder, and we're wondering, what's Scully going to do? What's she going to do? And all of a sudden, as he requisitions a car, he's about to get out of there. She catches up with him, and he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, eh. And this is as Casablanca, this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, right? A relationship, actually, right? And so they both off. There is one last little thing that we're privy to out in the wilderness. I'll leave that alone, but you can kind of imagine already what it is. So the relationship with Mulder and Scully, and just the monster of the week, the cinematography as always. The X-Files, it looks like it ought to be on the big screen, not the small screen. Eventually it'll get there, but man, we're going to have to go through 5 full seasons to see that happen. It's such a shame that Chris Carter wasn't able to. It's one of those, had this thing hit earlier, like after season 2 or something, we could have saw a 6, 7, 8 film run of this in the theater. It would have been magnificent, but it wasn't to be, unfortunately. So The Jersey Devil, an earlier Monster of the Week episode, directed by one Joe Napolitano. Great episode. I loved it for a lot of reasons. And I don't know what's next. I don't know, but looking forward to it. I'm absolutely so glad that I'm doing this. Looking forward to the next episode. As always, we end these things off with Go Bills.
This is not a dream. Not a dream.
We might be useful to